Hey, I think we will begin. So it's so wonderful to see everyone this afternoon. It's wonderful to welcome Shala back. It's so nice to have you be with us again. And hard to know how to presence everything that you represent, but I love that you come from a long line of storytellers and orators, and that feels just incredible, as I think it's such a great way to unite people is through the arts. And so I really appreciate what you're offering and bringing to us in this 5-part series called Mythic Medicine. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. And we just ask, unless you're directly interacting, if you don't mind to keep your mic muted. And just a reminder to everyone that we are recording this, as there's always people who are in different time zones that are unable to attend. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Shala.
Thank you so much. It's really wonderful to be here. And I'm feeling a certain frisson. What I mean is I've been looking forward to this for some time. And now the time is actually here. And I'm really wanting to give you a sense of what I mean by mythic medicine. So before I move into it, I just want to welcome you all here into this virtual space, a space that we've all become increasingly used to over this time, and a space which surprisingly has resulted in perhaps people making greater connections with more people than they may have expected to over this past year. I mean, certainly for me, I have been more in connection with my own, my family, my mum, my brother, my sister, than I normally would be. And although the connection, the potential around connection is not as holistic and warm as if we were actually in each other's presence. But that's just the way that this goes. So, as I was saying, I'm going to be talking today about courage. And courage is an important realization, an important aspiration, an important invocation for our times. In this time now, when we are presented with themes of dissolution, with themes of separation, isolation, where people have had the rugs pulled out from their feet in terms of what is normal and what is routine. And people's fears of the new normal, as it is often called, coupled with what has always been presenced to us over the last decade or two, which is the possibility of the end of the world due to an ecological catastrophe and due to feelings that we as humans are doing too much to destroy our environment and too little, too late to repair it. Never mind all the interhuman things, racism, sexism, the various isms and schisms that plague humanity and have done for millennia. I was going to say centuries, but actually it goes beyond that. And bearing all these things in mind, what then how then can we respond? What then is our response to be? The Dagara people say that if a person dreams, that is okay. And people will say, okay, you dreamt. But if a person has what they call a big dream, then they call the council of elders. And people sit around and try to make meaning of this big dream. And all of us here who are interested in the energetics of healing, who are interested in a numinosity and a liminality that goes beyond the mundane, are parts of and partaking of a big dream of possibility, of potential. And courage has its place, very firmly seated in the notion of possibility. The French word cœur and the Latin cor both mean hearts, and they are the root of courage. Courage is to have hearts, to feel the fear and do it anyway, as Suzanne Jeffries famously said. Courage is an aspiration for our times, for without the stepping into one's personal I can ability, if you like, into one's personal power, despite the sometimes monstrous forces against us, nothing would change for us as humans anyway. So I invoke courage. I invoke our joint ancestors. I invoke Mother Earth. I invoke Father Sky. I invoke that which is magnificent in all of us here, in order to presence, as Lisa would say, to presence, as Lisa would say, courage and its empowering impact on all of us. So welcome, people, and Hashima, which means respect in Swahili. So before we get further, I would like to just share with you some goals and some agreements that I would like to present to you for our session today. Goals for today. So firstly, to use storytelling to expand our creative possibilities. We're all creative. That is undeniable. It's in the way that we dress, the stories we tell about mundane things, in the way we think, the way we cook. It's in so many things. And we want to use storytelling both to expand it, to expand our creativity, and to harness our creativity in the service of courage. To harness the power of the group in the service of creative endeavor, for the wisdom is always in the group. We as humans, apart from the fact that we are individuals, which can be related to as individual and dual, mind and spirit, if you like, or mind, body, and spirit. Apart from that, we are connected with every other human on this earth in amazing ways, just in the same way as there is only one water, even though there are separate ponds, rivers, streams, lakes, and oceans, there's actually only one water on earth. And there's actually only one spirit on earth, if we really, really tune into it in some way. To explore courage as part of personal evolution. So courage to have heart, to be of hearts, to be beyond brave, is perhaps an aspect of moving into greater personal power and into universal awareness of universal connection. Death is an expansion, And death promotes a great deal of fear in many of us worldwide. The overcoming of that fear presents many possibilities. And so courage is, as I said in the beginning, something worth focusing on, if just for a while. So that's where we're going today. And I'd like to think into how we're going to get there with some agreements. So I've prepared some agreements, actually. So the first one is no put downs of self or others. So I can imagine that in an environment such as this, with people such as yourselves, you already know not to put down each other, to shut people's self-expression down in any way. But perhaps more tricky is not to put oneself down, not to listen to that voice that says, don't say that, it's stupid, people will laugh. Oh, come on. Do you really think that's wise to say? All those voices. What I would ask you to do at the moment is to just imagine that there is a voice that can put you down at times. And instead of trying to shut it up and shut it down, just imagine it's right there on your shoulder and just give it a stroke. You can do it. Am I the only one stroking my voice? Oh, okay. Ah, so you're with me. Excellent. So just give that voice a little stroke and say to it, there. It's all right. You can always talk about what you're talking about later. Just give me a little time. And then just allow that voice to move into some silence. Another agreement that I would ask of you, if possible, please, is to listen well, which you already are. But when I say listen well, it means more than listening with the ears. It means listening from the heart, really tuning in to the now, as far as that's possible, and listening deeply if you can, to the extent which you can. I've always found it interesting that we say pay attention. And I like to reflect on the fact that when you give attention to somebody, it is as though you're paying them with a gift of your presence. So paying attention. Then be willing to try new things. If you imagine that we have a circle around us, which is our comfort zone, if we step out of it, then we can step too far and be in the panic zone. But if we just step to the edge and dip our toe in what's beyond the edge, that's the learning zone. And that is, in fact, really one of the only ways to learn. Be willing to try new things. Participate fully according to you, how you are. Each one of us is different. Some are extroverts, some are introverts, and all occupy the spectrum. In the spectrum between those is vast. Participate fully according to who you are and how you feel able to show up. And that's all that I ask. Finally, be willing to share your reflections. The wisdom is in the group. I'm no guru. I'm not here to tell you things that you don't know. I might remind you of things that you have forgotten. I might help you to remember, which is to remember, to put the members of the body of your knowledge back together, to remember. But the wisdom is not in me, it's in all of us. And I'm just here to access some of that in service of us all. So I also benefit from the wisdom in the group. Excellent. Now, I am feeling quite excited because of the fact that I'm receiving so many smiles. And smiles are like an energy boost for me. It's as if you're feeding me right now with the smiles on your faces. And so I hope that I'm feeding you right back with the smile on mine. And it's genuine. I'm feeling this quite a lot. So I hope that I don't get that feeling in the cheekbones that comes from smiling excessively. So, what next? Well, I have a story for you. And the story is on the theme of courage. This story is called Densu's Journey. And the story comes from a conversation that I had with an Ashanti man from Ghana who said to me, Sola, supposing you were on the plane, you're walking along the plane and you saw a lion, what would you do? How would you get away? And this story is born out of that question. And we'll talk about the courage aspects of this story in a little while. So I'll begin the story. Oh, by the way, one thing you should know about African storytelling is that it's quite participatory. And therefore, there's not really an audience. There are just participants. And one of us is guiding the story. So I'm going to begin as I always do, which is to say, in a place far from here, but near to there. And when I say in a place far from here, I would like you in your own individual spaces to say, but near to there. You don't need to unmute. It's fine. I'll be able to see that you're saying it. So, in a place far from here, but near to there. I said, in a place far from here, but near to there. I said, in a place far from here, but near to there. Densu was taking a walk on the plain of the Serengeti, taking it nice and easy. He walked in a relaxed way, feeling good. It was a sunny day. And ahead of him, there was a mound. And the mound was behaving a bit strangely. And it was a weird sight for him to see a mound with any kind of behavior. So he walked a little bit closer. He could see the mound was slightly expanding, slightly contracting, and walked closer still. And then he saw, to his shock and his horror, that in front of him was not a mound, but instead a gigantic lion. So he did what most people would do. He turned around and ran for his life. And the lion, up until that moment, had been sleeping. But when it saw Densu making his escape, the lion jumped up and began to run after Densu. Densu ran so fast that he didn't even know how he managed to climb the single tree that stood on the plain. But climb it he did. And the lion walked around the tree, looking up at Densu and thinking about its soon to come meal. Densu was in the tree, panicking. When he remembered what his grandfather always used to say to him. His grandfather always used to say, Densu, when you are in a situation that you cannot control the only thing you can control. Control your breath. So Dentsu took a deep breath. And I would like us all to just take 3 deep breaths. So if you put your hand on your lower abdomen, and as you breathe in a full breath, your hands, your abdomen should expand. And then we'll breathe in and breathe up into our chest. Hold just for a moment and breathe out. Then repeat the process 3 times. So here goes. 1, 2, 3. Now Dentsu was calmer. The lion was still there. But Dentsu was able to think more clearly. And so he decided that he would wait for the lion to sleep. And he did. He waited until the lion's head dropped down to its paws and it began to snore. At this point, Dentsu broke some twigs to throw at the lion's head to make sure it was really sleeping, because cats can be tricky. So Dentsu threw the twigs. The lion was really sleeping. So Dentsu began to sneak out of the tree. He snuck away from the lion. And then he made the exact same mistake that he had made in the first place. He began to run. And the lion heard him running and woke up and began to run after him. Dentsu this time was in dire straits. There were no more trees, not even bushes. And so Dentsu was backing away. And Dentsu remembered what his grandfather always used to say to him. And as we all know, his grandfather said, Dentsu, when you are in a situation you cannot control, control the only thing you can control. So Dentsu took a deep breath and another until he was calm. At which point, he remembered that on his back, he had a spear. At this point in this story, my young audiences always say things like, what do you mean he had a spear on his back? How would he not have known that? I mean, that's just ridiculous. And other comments similar to that. And I always respond to them, it's my story, and I'll tell it how I like. So Dentsu had a spear on his back. And he took the spear from his back and he pointed it at the lion. At that moment, the lion's perception of Dentsu changed. Dentsu was no longer food. Dentsu was now a foe. For the story of the lions in that region, passed down from the ancestors, included stories of lions being killed by people with spears. So the lion took that seriously. The lion looked at Dentsu. Dentsu looked at the lion. The lion got ready to pounce. The lion pounced, and Dentsu dropped down to the ground with the pointed end of the spear upwards and the shaft on the ground. And the lion landed with its chest on the sharp pointed tip of the spear. And so, Densu killed the lion. The thing is, if the lion had written that story, it would have been Densu that died. And therein lies a little insertion of race politics. Moving on, there is another ending to this story. Densu looked at the lion. The lion looked at Densu. And then Densu did something very strange. He stood up. He put the spear up. He looked into the sky and he said, "Ancestors! Ancestors! This lion and I are from the same creation! Ancestors, why must I kill this lion?" And then he made a strange sound. And the lion looked at Densu like, huh? And Densu looked at the lion, and the lion turned and walked away. And Densu turned and walked in the other direction. The end. So that's the end of that story. Thank you. Now, if we consider the metaphor of the lion, perhaps you can drop in the chat something in your own life that you could use the metaphor of a Rita eating lion, or a Carolyn eating lion, or a Cherie eating lion, or a Kathy eating lion, a Randall, Lisa, Rosemary, Carl, Benedetta eating lion, and not forgetting you, Maytal, or Terry, Shelley, Catherine, or Kim, Ramona, and Nadeg. Nadeg, would you just unmute so I can get your actual pronunciation of your name, if you don't mind?
Nadej.
Nadej. Aha. You see, I knew there was some beauty in the pronunciation, so I'm glad you did that. Thank you. So, what in your lives, what fears have you come upon in your lives? What terrors or horrors? And what I would ask at this point is for you to create your own experience. So if there's something so horrifying that you know that it will cause you to break down and that you won't be able to handle it if you think too much or delve too much into that, I would ask you that you please think of something else. It doesn't have to be your deepest, darkest horror. It could be just when you saw a snake on TV, or having to go, if you have a phobia, just thinking about the phobia, or something that somebody said to you, maybe your boyfriend, girlfriend, somebody wanted to split up with you, and your fears around that. Your fears around anything can be metaphorized as predatory. So anything that you want to presence will be fine. And if you just drop them into the chat, then we'll see. When somebody taunts you, don't bite. Aha, said Joyce. Hadil said myself. My mother being angry at me. Me too. Oh, by the way, if anybody says something that also resonates with you, if you just give them a little show of hands so they know that they're not alone in feeling that. Climate emergency. Coronavirus. For me, not so much. Fear of spiders, yes. Separation, yes. My mum losing her memory, that is a constant fear of mine as my mum ages. drowning, growing old, poor, and alone. Existence, okay, yes. For me, as a child, it was fear of mockery, hunger and thirst, yeah, hunger. Sailing across the ocean, beyond the horizon. Kidnapping is a political violence here in Haiti. Aha, Haiti, not Haiti, yes, real name. Remembrance of strength of threatening person on the road. Stress situation, cool, calm, collected, take charge, diffusing situation. Heights, getting a bad review, yeah, or being marked down, separation, judgment. My gifts, now that is an interesting one, my gifts. Hands up all of the people here who relate to the term impostor syndrome. I do, because I often have felt in my life that who am I? Who am I to be here talking to you as if somehow I know something you don't, you know? And that can be quite a fearful place to stand in. Economic power groups, rejection, helplessness. Yeah, so when I was but a wee bairn, as they say in Scotland, I lived in a place called Manchester in the United Kingdom, in a place called Disbury, and I was the only black person there. And I received lots of mockery related to my skin color, to all kinds of jokes. Now, my brother and sister also grew up in that environment, but they were not bothered because they were far more resilient than I was. But I used to say to myself the things that other people said to me. And I say it like that on purpose, because in my later life, I came to realize that it wasn't so much what other people said and did. It was the meaning that I made of it that affected me most. And that's how I was able to start thinking about forgiving people. Because up to that point, I was so vengeful and angry and just feeling heavy all the time with the pain of my vengeful feelings. And I really had a fear of letting go of those feelings, because I felt that if I let go of those things that had been done to me, I'd be somehow letting go of an important part of my identity. So fear takes many forms. Fear of losing my physical abilities as I age. Fear of being unable to save someone's life. When hiking, trusting that I won't be able to fall over it, or trusting that I won't fall over a ledge. Life without my cat, who's my best friend, and is possibly coming to the end of his journey here. Hands up who's got some relationship with death and some relationship with grief and fear. Fear of losing physical abilities as I age. Well, that is happening to me. Water bugs, huge flying, being alone, getting sick, losing my own memory. Oh my gosh, wow. Losing people I love. Yeah. Yeah, so we all have some relationship with fear. What I would like to do just now is to ask us to soften our focus or close our eyes if we are able to do that. If you would like to switch off the screen so that you don't feel as if anybody's watching you, switch off your video and place a hand. If you're right-handed, place your left hand on your solar plexus. And if you're left-handed, place your right hand on your solar plexus. And place the other hand on your forehead, the region of the third eye, as some people call it, and its endocrine counterpart, the pineal gland. And take a breath. You all probably have a breathing practice. So whatever breath you do that relaxes you, just do that. Or if you would like to do my practice, and take a deep breath, hold it, and then breathe out for longer than you breathed in, which stimulates the vagus nerve. And when you feel a little bit relaxed, just remember a time when you felt afraid. When you have that time, I invite you to investigate into your body if there is a felt sensation in your body that accompanies the fear. So not your imagining of how you feel, but an actual sensation in your body, maybe a clenching, perhaps an expansion, a contraction, somewhere in your body. And just notice that. That's all you need to do. Just notice it and notice where it is. And if you just come back to being present in this space, and if you were able to detect a sensation anywhere in your body, just put that in the chat, please. I had a sensation. I was imagining when I was cast adrift on a raft. Well, it's actually a door, but we were using it as a raft in this lake, and just the dark waters around me, and the feeling of fear that I had at the time. It came back, and I had a feeling like a sort of clenching in my solar plexus, and I can see my throat, constriction in my throat, my jaw, tension in shoulders and solar plexus, my knee, my heart, a heavy heart with lost chest, heart, headache, neck and shoulder, tightening of buttocks. So shoulders and lower back, solar plexus, tightness in upper chest, pain in heart. Wow. So we can see that there are so many physical counterparts to actual emotions and feelings, torn and broken heart, stagnant energy at the base of my spine. So I get that whoever said that is already conversant with the energetics of the body. Pits in my stomach and so much anxiety in my body and system. I want to do anything to relieve it. Tightening of and dropping of stomach, heart and throat. I felt it kind of move in my lungs and in my liver. Right. Okay. So I can see that there are a few people here who have an awareness of somatic attention. They know how to tune in to their body. So let's look at the opposite of that, if you like. With heart and lower abdomen, felt it in solar plexus. So same thing again. And that's what I've seen. Let's switch it. So now right hand where the left hand was, and left hand where the right hand was before, solar plexus and the pineal gland. And this time, I want you to imagine, if you soften your focus and close your eyes, please imagine a time when something occurred that you overcame. You had to draw on your inner resources. You had to be courageous, and you were, and you overcame something. You overcame something. And in that moment of overcoming, I want you to just feel into whether there is a sensation that accompanies that and where. And when you're ready, just come back into the room. And I'll just let you know that I had an experience when I was at university of having to do a seminar presentation. And when you see me now, you probably don't know that I used to have a real fear of public speaking. And so I was so constricted. My voice really went really high, and my papers were shaking, and I was hyperventilating. But I did it and did it and did it again until I overcame it. And then there was a time when I was able to do it and do a presentation. And when I remembered it then, I had it was in my solar plexus again, actually, same place as the fear, but it was a much more expansive and warm feeling. So, yeah, I can see that people are saying where they felt things. So felt it in solar plexus, arms, breath, heart, tingling from heart to arms, felt shoulders relaxed and breath softened, amazing. Warm solar plexus and hearts, beautiful. Lower back. I breathed more deeply. I felt it first on my solar plexus and then my sacral and lower belly area. And finally, I felt my root chakra open slowly, strongly. Expansion in my chest and head, heart expansion and core star expansion, high chest, feeling big, invigorated, light free, felt strong shoulders and a brave heart. Excellent, excellent. So just a quick show of hands. Did anybody experience the feeling of courage in the same place as they felt the feeling of fear? Well, I certainly did. Did anybody else experience it in that way? Okay, so I see that some did. Your energy key, Carl. Right, cool. And other people, I assume, felt it in different places. I find that to be interesting. One of the ways that I've worked with young people in a trauma-informed way has been precisely to help them to develop a somatic awareness, an embodiment, and to stand in their courage, to actually stand in their courage in a way that gives them access to the information of courage so that they can repeat that in their lives in other ways when they are in a situation that they can't control. They can control their breathing and their stance. So what I'm going to ask everybody to do is either sit up straight or stand if you can. And I'm going to, wow! That was very lucky. That was my laptop and it didn't smash. Right, I'm going to stand. And this time I'm going to hold my laptop firmly. Let's see. Right, so what I'm doing is you can see that I'm standing high, so you can tell that now I'm sinking a bit. And I'm just softening my knees. I'm softening my knees. And what I would like you to do or invite you to do is remember the courageous moment, put your hands in the same place. And if you can keep your back straight whilst you soften your knees and stand, please do so. If you need support, please take that support. Don't injure yourself in order to do this exercise. It's really not necessary. So if you need to sit, please do sit. So your hands in the same place and breathe either in the way that I do or according to your own breath practice. So I'm going to breathe in, hold for a bit, and breathe out. And I'm reconnecting with that courageous feeling. And as I'm doing that, I'm imagining that there is energy in both of my hands, connected with both my pineal gland and my solar plexus. And this energy is feeding into my solar plexus and my third eye, and is also being fed into by them. And in a moment, I'm going to bring this energy into my hands, raise my hands to my forehead, and then bring my hands down on an out breath to just below my abdomen. Lower abdomen. Abdominals. And I'm just going to hold this energy Still breathing in a relaxed way, and still connected with that courageousness. And I'm holding this energy in a ball. And I can feel the resistance in between my hands. So it's a ball about this shape, and I'm playing with it at the moment. I'm just feeling the resistance in between my hands, similar to opposing magnets, magnets of the same pole opposing each other. Still breathing in that relaxed way and still connected to my courage. And now on an in-breath, I'm going to bring all of that energy that I can feel in my hands, and I'm going to place it into the place where I can feel the somatic representation of my courage, the felt sensation of my courage. So I'm going to breathe it in and place it in on an out breath. And then I'm going to return to standing or sitting at ease without dropping my laptop. Ooh, delicate operation. Excellent. So this is something that I share with much more explanation, actually, and many more exercises, particularly if we're in the same room. It becomes easier. However, this is just a simple way of repeatedly empowering or powering up around courage. So doing it once, of course, is nice. But if you like the practice, then I suggest that you do it repetitively. And if you do it once or twice a day, every day, if you take that moment to do this, then you'll find that whenever you feel fear, that you can do the same movements and transform the fear to courage. Notice that I didn't say you can eradicate your fear. Fear is actually essential to us as a species. Just imagine being in front of a cave bear and feeling no fear and just walking up to it with blithe disregard for how the cave bear is feeling. I think that the fight, flight, fright reflex is important for our survival as a species. And there are times when we can bypass it, and there are times when it saves our lives. So we don't want to eradicate fear. We want to mitigate it and to channel it and transform it into its polarity of courage, its opposite pole of courage, if you like. So I can see a message just appearing here. Let me see what that message is. I felt my courage, Nadej. I felt my courage as well as the collective energy and courage of all the whole group. It was both grounding and dizzying, heart expanding and reassuring. Thank you, Nadej. And in actual fact, that prompts me to ask if people had an experience through that activity of connecting with some sense of courage. So if you did, would you just let me see your hands? Okay, great. And if you didn't, that's perfectly fine, because everybody has their own way of interpreting and understanding things. And if you don't experience something that you're guided to experience, it's never because there's something wrong with the way you did it. It's just that your mind chose to interpret it in a different way and your body chose to respond in a different way. It's actually as simple as that. Glenda, Hudson raised hand. Ooh, Zoom is great. Okay, I did. Excellent. Right. What I'm going to ask at this moment in time is for Randall, can we, in terms of Zoom rooms, is it possible to put people in pairs randomly assigned pairs? Yeah?
Sure.
Okay, well, before you do that, I'm going to ask you in your pairs to discuss 3 things. Well, actually, will it take a lot of time to put people in pairs, then come back out, then put them in pairs again, come back out, put them in different pairs again?
No.
That wouldn't take too long. Okay, so let's do that. It's now 8 o'clock. So I'm going to ask you to go into pairs, and then you're going to answer this question. So choose a person A and a person B, and ask, what is the most inspiring thing that ever happened to you, and why? What is the most inspiring thing that ever happened to you, and why? And person A will speak, and person B will listen. And then after 1 minute, person B will then speak, and person A will listen. Are there any questions? So I'm going to put that in the chat so you've got it. What is the most inspiring thing that ever happened to you, and why? Maureen Foy raised hand. Is that for a question? And if it is, would you unmute and then perhaps ask your question?
No question.
Okay.
That was old.
Oh, I see. Well, thanks, Maureen. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Wonderful.
Thank you. So when you're ready, Randall, if you assign people to their rooms, and person A speak for 1 minute, person B listen, person B speak for a minute, person A listen. In your pairs, answer all 3 of the questions. And then we'll bring them back into the room, Randall, so that way any technical glitches will only impact us at this point and perhaps on the way back in. So the other 2 questions are, where are they? No, I'm having technical problems. Right. What for you has been your experience of mentoring and role modeling? Who and why? And imagine you 40 years ago, or you in 40 years' time. So you visit yourself. You either come from the past or you come from the future, and you give yourself some serious piece of advice. What would that advice be? And relate that to your partner. So you're going to have person A, person B. Probably choose how you want to do it. Person A listens, person A speaks, person B listens, then person B shares, person A listens, and then person A moves on to the next one, or person A shares all 3, and person B listens to all 3, and person B shares all 3, and person A listens. And through Randall, I'm going to, we can tell them what the time is, can't we? And all of that, and how long they've got left. So if we give you 1 minute per question, which means that there'll be 6 minutes for 6 questions, because all 3, the 2 of you will share 3 questions each, which is 6 according to my mathematics. And then Randall, will you be able to say 1 minute over? Yep. Is that, yeah? Okay, excellent. All right, are you ready to move them? I can see lots of people smiling, which would indicate to me that people found that was quite a good experience, sharing in some way with somebody else. Would Could I just take 3 comments? Would 3 people be willing to just volunteer and tell me a little bit about what the experience of connecting with someone, particularly if you didn't know them, was like in this way? Around 3 questions. Benedetta said it was a lovely.
Yeah, may I say something? I met
Yes, of
Iris
course.
and we didn't know each other, and it was very nice because we really realized how much we were really sharing about courage in our life and how much our experience was matching each other, and we were going in the same flow. And so it was very, very lovely because we didn't know each other, but we went into a space of sincere exchange, and it was so fulfilling. And so it was all about courage and how much we when we stand in our truth, all the fear around we can allow what we made up as a fear to dissolve and to stay in reality. And so it was beautiful.
Thank you, Benedetta, that you had that experience, and thank you for sharing the beauty of it too. Is another person wants to say something as well? Yeah, Mori.
Oh, I loved meeting the other woman in the room with me. I felt like she was like a true friend. I just felt this laughter and joy that we just shared together. And I'm not even sure it was about courage, but it was just about deep connection. It was so beautiful, so lovely. I felt like she was in the same room with me. It was beautiful. Thank you.
Wonderful. She actually thanked you back in the chat.
I just want to thank you back, Maureen. It was really a lovely experience. And spontaneous but deep contact. Felt like old friend. I think if we wouldn't have Rendo reminding us the time, we would have keep talking and laughing for a long time. Lovely experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Ah, lovely. Well, so part of that, I imagine, may have been influenced by the tuning into oneself first before tuning into other people. You may have been surprised and may have expected me to ask you a question related to courage. But actually, I chose not to, because I wanted to just give you the experience of in that space and relating to somebody else and seeing if it was something that was rich, and if there is anything that you yourself, any conclusions that you yourselves can draw from that. But what I would like to do now is to take it into a slightly different place. And I think that, are there any of you here? I think that I recognize Kathy Bauer. Were you on the call the last time? Yeah, I think so. But if you were, you may have experienced a creative visualization in terms of the way that I do it. And we're going to do a creative visualization now. And when I say creative visualization, what I mean is that I'm going to describe some things and offer the possibility of you going on a journey according to the words that I speak. But there's a number of things that I just want to presence first, which are that you cannot get this wrong. It's not possible. I might say to you, you're on top of the mountain. You might see yourself in Walmart. It doesn't matter. It's just where your mind wants to be at that time. So whatever happens, just be relaxed with yourself. There's no need to beat yourself up because you're not seeing in glorious HD or Technicolor and you're not having amazing visions. Some people don't. Some people see in black and white. Some people don't see anything at all. Some people just hear. Some people just feel. The experience to verbal prompts is diverse. And whatever your experience is fine. When I talk about creative visualization, I'm talking, as I said, about painting pictures with words. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and sit in a relaxed position, a position that you can sustain, and a position that you won't find too disturbing. And then I'm going to ask you to close your eyes or soften your focus. Well, why don't you do that now? Just close your eyes or soften your focus and don't look at anything in particular. And so today, we're going to go on a journey into the land where our creative spirit lives. Our spirit of creativity, which is aligned to our spirit of courage. And now I'll ask you to just begin to pay attention to the sensation of the breath in your nostrils as you breathe in and breathe out. Or if you have a cold, in your mouth as you breathe in and breathe out. Just pay attention to that sensation. It's always there, but we may not always notice it. And as you pay attention to the feeling of the breath in your nostrils or your mouth, just notice that you can also feel the passage of the air in your chest and in your nostrils or mouth at the same time. You can pay attention to both these sensations at the same time. And as your breath deepens, notice that you can feel the breath in your nose or mouth, in your chest and in your belly at the same time, just paying attention to the felt sensation of your breath in your belly, your chest, in your nose or mouth at the same time. And you can begin to notice that you can also feel the sensation of your clothes on your skin, perhaps the air on your face as you breathe in and breathe out. You can feel your feet against whatever surface they are against. The weight of your body in this surface on which you sit or lie. And with each out breath, you can just begin to notice that your body feels a little bit heavier with every out breath. As you breathe in and out, out and in. Your body becomes increasingly relaxed. And now I'm going to ask you to imagine that in front of you, there's a door. What does it look like? Is it big or small? Can you see what it's made of? What color is it? Perhaps reach out a hand and touch the door. What does it feel like? Is it rough or smooth? Cold or warm? Maybe you can even reach out your nose and smell the door. What does it smell like? Behind this door is the land where your creative spirit lives. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you to open the door and to go through. So you can do that now. Open the door and go through. What does it feel like to be in the land where your creative spirit lives? What can you see? Are you inside or outside or somewhere else? What can you hear? What can you smell? And now you can call your creative spirit to come to you. And just take some time to see or feel when it comes or hear. And just take a look at your creative spirit. What does it look like? Or perhaps you can't see it. What does it sound like or feel like? Is it a person, an animal, or something else? And just take a moment to ask your creative spirit, what do I need to do to bring more creativity and more courage into my life? And I'll give you a moment to listen for the answer. And now you can ask your creative spirits another question, any question that you want to. Just ask that question and listen for the answer. Now, perhaps your creative spirit gives you a gift. If it does, what is it? Can you feel it? Can you see it? Or perhaps hear it? Now it's time to say goodbye to your creative spirit and to thank it for spending time with you. And it's also time to say goodbye to the land where your creative spirit lives, knowing that you can return to it anytime you like, because it's in your own mind. So I'm going to ask you to go back to the door and to go through the door and back into the room that you are in. And you can just begin to stretch and open your eyes back into this room. Okay, so just staying in that silent space, I would like you, if you have access to it, to get yourself a pen and a piece of paper. And what I invite you to do now is to write at the top of the page, my relationship to my creativity and courage is. And then I would like you to take time to craft a metaphor for your relationship to your creativity and to your courage. And by metaphor, again, I mean painting pictures with words. So if I give you a metaphor such as my relationship to my creativity and courage is like a strong bear behind iron bars. That tells you that I find it difficult to access my creativity, but that I know it's there and I struggle to release it. But it's more powerful than me saying that, just giving you the image. Now, the metaphor only needs to be about 8 or so words long. It does not have to be perfect. If you are a writer, do not get caught up in trying to come up with the most beautiful metaphor that you can imagine. Just come up with any metaphor for your relationship to your creativity and your courage, as long as it's true for you. It can be a simile, so it doesn't matter if you use like or as. And I'm going to give you 3 minutes to come up with this metaphor, beginning now. Okay, hands up if you need more time. Does anybody need more time? I do not see any hands. Okay. So, next, I would like you to put the metaphor at the top of the page. The metaphor that you've come up with, write that at the top of the page. And we're now going to do a piece of timed free writing or stream of consciousness timed writing. So some of you will no doubt be familiar with this, particularly if you're artists, as a way of getting your subconscious to speak through your pen. So the way this works is when I say begin, you just start to write and you don't stop writing. So if you get stuck and you don't know what to write, you write, I'm stuck and I don't know what to write. And you write that a few times until something else comes to mind. And then you write that. Now, don't try to edit it. Don't try to get it to make sense. Punctuation does not matter. Spelling does not matter. If you're dyslexic, how it looks, how you feel it sounds, it does not matter. You just keep that pen moving until I say stop. So, unless there are any questions, which I'm always happy to hear, then please get ready. And I'm going to ask you to begin writing now. And stop. Okay, and now I would like you to underline, look through what you've written, and underline 3 sentences or phrases that you like because of their structure. Maybe they mean something, perhaps they have a certain sound to them. So just underline 3 sentences or phrases that you like for any reason. Okay, and stop. So what you should have now are 3 phrases which are a distillation from the prompt of the metaphor related to your own relationship with your creativity and with your courage. And I deliberately made a link between creativity and courage. Not because one needs creativity in the moment when one needs courage, but one needs creativity to inculcate an attitude of courage. And one needs courage to have integrity to the promptings of one's creative urge. So what you potentially have on your paper is a guide, perhaps some prompts, some information for you from your subconscious, hopefully, that may be of service to you in terms of having a courageous practice through approaching the world in a courageous way and a creative way. What you can do with what you have is you can either get together with other people here and put what you have into some order and see if it creates some kind of poetic sensibility, or you can do the process yourself. Write more based on the 3 things that you have, or interpret it through art, or through words or song, or through movement, depending on how you interpret creativity. But what I want to do now is to open the floor. We've got just over 10 minutes left, and it would be great to hear some of your voices. It'd be wonderful to hear questions or observations, comments about the theme of the day, and perhaps something about an intention that you may have, and if you don't, it doesn't matter, in relation to this experience today. I always like to say that if you've got the feeling of butterflies in your stomach, if you're nearly there but not quite.
Yeah. So I would love to share what emerged from my journey. And I will read what I wrote in the first part, the metaphor, because it's very relevant to me. And it's my relation to my courage and creativity is like dancing in the dark, dwelling in the mist, loving that space of unknown that exists before any creation. That's my home, my true home. I belong in the shadows. I love it because when I start automatic writing, it was all about the first word that popped out in my mind was white fear. So it's nice to see this image of dark shadow as creation and fear as white. And I feel there is something about the courage of standing in the unknown and allow the anxiety to figure it out, to arise until the peak when maybe it can explode and drop and dismantle any form and allow the darkness of the womb to be there. And it's such a huge takeaway. So my intention is, and I know I'm someone very active who always wants to figure out and to understand and frame things. So it's a huge takeaway, and I will allow myself more to stay in this dark space, because maybe it's not about forms creativity, it's about staying in the potential, having the courage for me to stay there. That's for me, of course, but thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And that's very insightful, because yeah, where does creativity emerge from? It's almost like saying, where does the creation, the world, where does it emerge from? We know that outside of the world is all this dark matter, this dark space. And we are told that that's where this world emerges from, in an explosion of light or energy. And certainly I feel as though my own thoughts come from a dark space within me. And I like Benedetta's switching the meaning of dark and light, which in the West is so often taken to mean evil for dark and good for light or white. So yeah, that was very interesting, Benedetta. Thank you. I'm just reading this. Okay. Okay. These are endorsements. Thank you, Sola, for this exceptional, remarkable, and expansive mythical healing. You took me to new places within, from Alluvia. Maureen says, what a beautiful, magical, a wonderful, magical, beautiful experience. Thank you. Guidance to feel inside, power and strong belief in myself. Dance, 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 and dance some more. And Susie says, thank you so much, Sola. That was wonderful. Thank you to you all. And does anybody else have any observations or comments or questions? And also feel free to put your metaphors or any part that you want in the chat, so that people can partake of your creative output too.
Hi, Sola. This is Rita. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Rita.
So I had a great experience in my creative land, and my creative spirits came in the form of the fairies that I had in my wallpaper when I was a kid in my bedroom. And I love them. And I didn't remember them at all. And then when I had to write, though, what my relationship to creativity was, the truth is that that's not the way it feels normally, right? So I wrote that my relationship was like a school teacher that I'm afraid of, because I didn't write about the experience I had. Mm-hmm. And then when I wrote when I went into the automatic writing, I went deeper into, into that metaphor that I came up with. So, which, I think the fairies can help me get out of that situation. But I want to know if the automatic writing, in my case, it went deeper into the construct that I have, and the barrier I have, or the fear I have of creativity, or I have to be more with this. But I'm curious as to how I use the automatic writing. I got lost at that last moment when you said we could share it with another, or how do we work with this that we've written? Because I did underline 3 sentences, but they're not especially, like, I don't know that. I mean, they take me more into my images, that prevent me from being creative, right? Like the jail I hold myself in. That's what they, or the feelings that have led me to block my creativity.
Mm-hmm. So in answer to your question, the thing about automatic writing is to be really sensitive to nuance. So from what you've just said, the nuance I got from you is that from your automatic writing, you understood that you sometimes use images as a kind of if I'm just interpreting what you said, as a kind of prison cell.
Yes.
And so from that, it's then possible to then continue the investigation I am in a prison cell because, and then do automatic writing. And then when you come up with a distillation of nuances you just have around what you've underlined or around what's come out of that, then ask another question. So automatic writing often doesn't produce revelations. For some people it does, actually, straight away. But it's really good for investigating the psyche, for bringing presence to what is just there, what's underlying. And if you have an archetypical practice or an energetic practice or any other kind of well-being practice, it's useful if you do that practice before you engage with the automatic writing. So it's kind of in the keeping of the energetic of what you do to be well.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we've got 2 minutes at the moment. So I want to honor your time. And would anybody like to ask a question? Because if not, I'm going to tie up things and hand back to Lisa. You are? I can hear you.
Yes, I am here. Mostly, I wanted to, there's a breakthrough, the connection of creativity and courage, the combination of speaking with Kate, who is the person I spoke, and that link, I realized that all of my creativity has been at the service of my courage because of the things I've had to handle. And now I can flip that. And so my courage can now feed my creativity. And for me, that has been, it's a huge understanding of what feeds what and how I can flip that to emerge. And I thank you because that was very, very powerful, the whole experiences.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I think you've just articulated what I was trying to get at, which is that it can be flipped. The more you feed one, it's like, what do they call it? Inversely proportional. No, not inversely proportional. Directly proportional? Yeah, directly proportional. So that the more you feed one, the more the other grows as well. Especially, and this is uniquely human, especially if you have consciousness of it. If you're conscious of the fact that I'm being creative now, therefore, I'm going to use my creativity courageously and then find ways, avenues to express that in courageous ways, which of course will demand more creativity, which of course will demand more courage. So yeah, thank you so much for that. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Sola. It was a great experience for me. And do you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm just going into gallery so I can see you.
Okay. Meita.
Meta. Okay. Hey, Meta.
So it was a great experience for me. And it reminded me writing poems, which I don't do and right now. And for me, it's being present and listening to my feeling and asking who I am and what I feel at a certain moment. Go with it and just see where it goes, where it leads me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the hero's journey, right? You're wandering and passing through perhaps trials and wonderful places, and eventually you reach the end of the quest. So I wonder what you will find there.
It's like being present, maybe in nature, maybe, you know, in the real life, in the jungle, and not in the mask, in you know, what we have here in our homes and cooking and stuff. just a mask, and the real life is our nature. Go through it. And give myself to the weak, to the weakened, to the weak people and weak animals that needs me. This is what creativity and courage means for me.
Thank you, Maytal.
Thank you.
Thank you. See, this is why at the beginning I said the wisdom is in the group. The wisdom is in the group. If we had more time, I'm sure we would come up with many more nuggets of wisdom. I believe that because Randall is recording, I think that the chat will be recorded as well. So if possible, Randall, would it be possible to share all of the things in the chat with everyone so everybody gets the metaphors and the poems that have been shared and the comments, if that's a possibility?
The chat can be saved, but I don't know how to disseminate it out into the world. I'll have to see.
Okay. That's fair enough. Well, this brings me to the end of this week's installment, which has been about courage. Courage is related to creativity. It's also related to faith. And next time that we gather, we'll be exploring faith again in creative ways. And I will have another story for you. And when I say mythic medicine, I basically mean medicine in the same way in which the indigenous peoples of Turtle Island or America mean, when they mean something that brings well-being, wellness, both to the self and to community. And that could be herbs, and it could be thoughts, it could be movement, or it could be all of those things combined. And in this case, it's narrative and storytelling, which is the medicine. So thank you so much for your attention, for your comments, and for your wisdom. And also, it certainly feels to me that there is a lot of love here. So thank you so much for your love. And over to you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shala. And we're looking forward to the next series on faith, which is April 22nd. And we will be back to our normal time. So for anyone that got confused on the time, I apologize. We changed time here in the US, but not in the UK. So next time we'll be back to our normal time at 2 US EST and I think 7 UK time. And so you'll be receiving the email soon. So thank you so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Enjoy your day, and I'll enjoy my night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.